She doesn't regret leaving you, not yet. Right now, she still thinks you're stuck, still checking her stories, still trying to impress her. Every guy who's been dumped knows that feeling. You want her to realize what she lost. You picture that 2 a.m. text, "I messed up." But here's the truth, she won't regret it until you stop trying to make her regret it. The more you perform for her, the more you prove she was right to walk away. The ones who turn things around aren't flexing on Instagram. They're quietly becoming the man she never thought you'd become. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the psychological triggers that will make her rethink everything, not through games, but real change. Plus, the one move that'll haunt her way more than silence ever could. If you're done being her, what if? Hit subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what lie did you tell yourself after the breakup? Stop trying to prove your worth. Become it. Let me tell you the cold truth most men never want to hear. She's not checking for you because she still thinks you need her to notice you. She thinks you're performing. Every gym selfie, every moody quote, every new girl you post with, it's all just noise to her. Noise that says, "I'm still orbiting you." And you might not even realize it, but every time you wonder, did she see that story? You just made her the main character of your healing. That's the trap. You think you're moving on, but what you're really doing is begging her ego to feel something. You're not building your value, you're auditioning for her attention. And here's the brutal paradox. The more you try to prove your worth to her, the more you confirm that she was right to leave. Because growth that's performed for someone else is never power. It's just another version of neediness dressed up in hustle. The truth is, she doesn't regret losing the man who changed his schedule. She regrets losing the man who changed his standard. And that shift? It's invisible at first. It's not loud. It's not showy. It's internal. Real evolution happens in silence. It happens when you start waking up at 5 a.m., not because you want her to know, but because you're sick of being average. It happens when you delete her number, not out of anger, but because her energy no longer matches your direction. It happens when you start building discipline, presence, purpose, not for validation, but because for the first time, you want your own approval more than hers. I know a guy who went through this. No posts. No revenge body. No drama. He just disappeared into his purpose. Built a business. Took his father on a fishing trip for the first time in 10 years. Got serious about his money, his mind, and his peace. And 6 months later, she ran into one of his friends. "How's he doing?" she asked. His friend didn't hype him up. Just shrugged and said, "He's good. Different, busy, doesn't really talk about you." And that shook her. Why? Because the one thing she expected, him chasing her story, was gone. That night, she sent the text, "I've been thinking about you." He saw it and replied, "Hope you're doing well too." No begging, no bitterness, no bait, just a man who had moved beyond the need to be noticed. And that is when regret hits. Not when you shout your progress, but when your silence becomes undeniable proof that she's no longer your center. When she sees that you don't care who's watching, that's when she starts watching. The frame control that rewrites everything. Most men make the same mistake after a breakup. They keep trying to rewrite the ending when the real power is walking out of the story completely. See, what you don't realize is, she's already told herself a version of your relationship that protects her ego. Maybe she says you were emotionally unavailable. Maybe she claims you didn't listen. Maybe she paints herself as the one who tried so hard for a guy who just wouldn't grow. And that story? It's not just for her friends or her new man. It's for herself. Because if he were the problem, then she doesn't have to face anything. Psychologists call this emotional framing, the lens through which we justify our choices, especially painful ones. And as long as you're out here trying to prove her wrong, you're still in her frame. You're not a free man, you're still an actor in her movie. Even your glow-up becomes performative. Oh, he's just doing this to make me regret it. Oh, he's still hung up on me. Oh, look at him trying to seem happy. But what happens when you stop performing? What happens when the change becomes real, subtle, and silent? That's when the frame breaks. That's when her version of you starts to crack. Because now you're not trying to change her mind. You're not in the courtroom of her memory, pleading your case. You're just gone. Emotionally unavailable? You're now emotionally intelligent. Not to prove a point because you're tired of sleepwalking through your own life. Lack direction? You're building a system. Not to show her because your future deserves a foundation. I knew this guy. His ex told people he never really paid attention to me. Instead of arguing, instead of texting her long emotional breakdowns, he focused on presence. He started paying attention to everything, to his own thoughts, to the way his little niece laughed, to how it felt when he sat in stillness and didn't chase a distraction. Months later, they bumped into each other at a mutual friend's birthday. And halfway through the conversation, she froze. "You're different," she said. She couldn't explain it, but she felt it. Because now he wasn't standing in the frame of her memory. He had rewritten the energy entirely, not by fighting her story, but by evolving into a man her story simply couldn't contain. That's when it begins. The second guessing, the wondering, the slow, quiet ache of real regret. And the most powerful part? You didn't even need her to see it. Because this new version of you? He's not looking for witnesses. He's too busy living the kind of life that doesn't need an audience. Master the art of detachment without bitterness. You want to know when it really hits her? Not when you find someone new. Not when you post success. It's when you detach and there's no bitterness. Most women are prepared for your anger after a breakup. The begging, the dramatics, the "you'll never find someone like me" spiral. She expects rage. She expects obsession. Because bitterness still centers her. It keeps her emotionally relevant. But peace? Actual calm, emotionally neutral distance? That messes with her head more than anything else. Because when you detach without resentment, what you're really saying is, I've made peace with who you were. And who I am no longer includes you. Most anger after breakups isn't really about her. It's about you. The shame of who you became in the relationship. What you tolerated. What you gave without receiving. The version of yourself you lost trying to keep her. But here's the shift. Instead of trying to get over her, get closer to you. Bitterness says, she hurt me. Healing says, I let it happen and I won't again. But even that's not the deepest level. There's something that cuts even deeper. Strategic subtlety beats loud success. Here's what doesn't make her regret losing you. Loud success. Flashy upgrades. That look at me now energy. Because upgrades done for her still orbit her. Don't glow up. Grow out. Grow out of the man who needed her validation. Grow out of the habits that made her your oxygen. Grow out of the identity that only existed in relation to her. Real regret hits when your evolution looks effortless but precise. Surgical refinement, not social media flexing. Don't just hit the gym, hire a trainer, track your sleep, fix your posture. It's not about abs, it's about alignment. Don't just make money, fix your finances, clean up your credit, automate your future. Don't just date someone new, learn to be around women without needing validation. This kind of upgrade whispers instead of screams. And she hears it later. Not through your posts, but through conversations she wasn't supposed to hear. One guy showed up to a wedding 6 months post-breakup. Tailored suit. Healthier. Calmer. He didn't avoid his ex, didn't seek her out. They talked casually for a few minutes. Then he walked away. She stood there stunned, not because he was cruel, but because he was no longer reachable. Not emotionally. Not energetically. Not even nostalgically. He had upgraded his standard for himself. And that leads us to the most powerful reframe of all. Turn her absence into your asset. Stop asking, how do I get over her? Start asking, what did her absence reveal that I couldn't see while she was there? Breakups don't break you. They expose you. Her leaving isn't punishment. It's a portal. Sometimes the version of you that you're meant to become can't exist in the same space she occupied. Most men try to fill the gap too fast. New girl, new distractions. But nothing shifts because the man underneath hasn't changed. Use her exit like a flashlight, not a wound. Ask different questions, not why wasn't I enough, but why did I make being enough for her more important than being aligned with me? One guy didn't do anything drastic post-breakup. He just started noticing how he brushed off his gut instincts to keep peace, how he rationalized emotional neglect, how many times he said yes when he meant no. Her leaving gave him stillness to see himself. He told me, her walking out taught me how to walk back to myself. That's when regret hit sideways. Not because you became better, but because you became self-sourced. Unshakable. Don't move on. Move inward. Everyone tells you to move on. Swipe. Distract. Replace. But here's what nobody says. The fastest way to move on is to move inward. Until you face the parts of you that let her become your world, you'll just keep orbiting her in different costumes. Moving inward means sitting in the discomfort instead of escaping it. Emotional solitude isn't sexy initially. It's quiet, boring, brutal. No applause, no validation. Just you and you. One guy took a solo trip after his breakup. Not to find himself, but to stop avoiding the truth. He said, that trip didn't heal me, but it made me confront how much of myself I'd given up trying to be the right man for the wrong woman. When you move inward, you start seeing patterns. Why you tolerated breadcrumbs. Why you were so afraid to lose her even when she barely showed up. Why your peace depended on her attention. Once you name those patterns, you don't chase women the same way. You embody strength instead of performing it. And that creates the final blow that no woman sees coming. True indifference that can't be faked. You want to know what breaks her? It's not you leveling up or finding someone new. It's when you stop caring, and it's real. Not fake detachment where you still stalk her stories. Not performative, I'm better off energy. I'm talking about indifference that's not angry because it's healed. Every version of you she's prepared for still cares. The bitter one, the jealous one, even the peace and love version secretly hoping she'll check on him. But the one who genuinely doesn't look back, that's rare and devastating. She doesn't get to be the villain, the muse, or the one who taught you everything. She becomes irrelevant to who you are now. And that not hate, not heartbreak hits hardest. One guy reached this point after a year of mixed signals. She messaged, I miss how safe I felt with you. He read it, smiled, deleted it. Not because he hated her, but because he finally loved himself more than he missed her comfort. That's indifference. Not the absence of love, the presence of self-respect. When a woman realizes she no longer has access to the version of you who would have done anything to keep her, that's when regret doesn't just visit. It moves in. She won't text, won't admit it, but she'll feel it every time she scrolls, every time she dates someone who looks the part but can't hold the depth, every time she wonders, how did he let me go so easily? The truth? You didn't. You just grew into the man who finally could. She doesn't regret the breakup. She regrets that the man she left became everything she wished he was, just not for her. And by the time she realizes it, you won't even need to hear it, because you'll already be living the life she never fit into. The most attractive thing about a man isn't his success, his looks, or even his confidence. It's his ability to be complete without needing external validation to feel whole. When you master that, you don't just become irresistible to her, you become irresistible to yourself. And that's when you know you've truly won. If this hit different than the usual get over your ex advice, hit that subscribe button. And drop a comment. What's one pattern you're finally ready to break? Thanks for watching.